Hi everybody. In our today's video, I'm going to show how to create a very interesting IoT project using Raspberry Pi and Microsoft Azure services. By the end of this video, you get the skill to create an IoT hub, stream analytics, storage container in Azure Cloud, program the Raspberry Pi, and send real-time sensor data to Azure. And last objective is to visualize sensor data on Azure. Let's start by understanding the process that we are going to follow. This is a diagram that shows how data flows from sensor to Azure Cloud. We are utilizing Raspberry Pi to send sensor data to Azure. You can use any Raspberry Pi as long as it can support MQTT protocol. There are several models of Raspberry Pi device such as Raspberry Pi 3 Model B or B+, Raspberry Pi 4 Model B. You can use any of these that supports MQTT protocol. I'm using Raspberry Pi 3 Model B device for this video. And we are utilizing sensor source data, which can be any sensor of your choice. For the video, I'm using DHT11 temperature and humidity sensor. We are utilizing a protocol called MQTT, which stands for Message Queuing Telemetry Transport Protocol. This protocol allows you to send telemetry data from your device to cloud. We are using Azure Cloud as cloud service and we utilize various specific resources of Azure Cloud. Our first resource we are going to use is Azure IoT Hub. IoT Hub is a cloud service provided by Microsoft that allows developers to easily connect, monitor, and manage a large number of IoT devices from a single platform. It supports D2C and C2D communication. That means device to cloud and cloud to device communication. Another feature of IoT Hub is it has ability to connect into many resources. In this video, we are utilizing Stream Analytics. It is a resource that allows you to stream real-time data from an IoT hub to an output. The output can be blob storage if you want to store data. The output can be Power BI if you want to draw more advanced insights. If you want to manipulate your data more, you can use Azure Functions. This icon is used for Azure Functions. You can also get your data to Event Grid for more advanced operations of your data. You can get your data from Stream Analytics to SQL database. Also, you can get your data from Stream Analytics to a resource called Cosmos DB. So in this video, we are going to store our DHT11 temperature and humidity sensor data in a container of a blob storage. Then let's move to create these resources on Azure Cloud. The next thing you have to do is creating a Microsoft Azure account. For that, you have to search for Azure. Go to the first link that you get, azure.microsoft.com. If you already have an account, you can sign into your account by providing account credentials. Or if you don't have an account, you can create a new Azure account by clicking on this free account button. And then you have to click on the Start Free button. To create a new Azure account, you should have a Microsoft account and you have to provide some of your details. If you are a student, you can use your educational email address to create the new Azure account. So this is my Microsoft Azure account. This is how Azure portal or marketplace looks like. These are the resources that I have created before. So for our task, we have to create Azure IoT Hub, Stream Analytics and Blob Storage. So then let's move to create these resources. Let's first create Azure IoT Hub. For that, click on this Create a Resource and search for IoT Hub. Then you will get these results: IoT Hub device provisioning service, service update for IoT Hub, and IoT Edge Metrics controller. So the one that we need is IoT Hub. Then let's click on this create button. Here we have to provide a resource group. A resource group is a container that holds related resources for an Azure solution. The resource group can include all the resources for the solution or only those resources that you want to manage as a group. So I will create a new resource group. Always try to provide a meaningful name. Then we have to provide the name of our IoT hub. And we have to provide the tier. Always try to select free tier or basic tier. So I will select basic tier and the message limit is this. Let's click on review plus create button. It will give you the details of your IoT hub. Always try to minimize your cost. So let's click on this create button. It's initializing deployment, submitting deployment, and the deployment in progress. It's creating our IoT hub. It will take several minutes to create the IoT hub. So let's wait. Okay, the deployment is succeeded. Then let's go to home and check. So this is our IoT hub, Raspberry DHT hub. Let's go into it. This is the overview of our IoT hub. We have to register a device in our IoT hub to connect with our Raspberry Pi device. So let's go into these devices. And here we can add a device by clicking on this button. We have to provide a device ID. You can provide any name you want. And we have to click on save button. Let's refresh. Okay, this is our device. Let's go into this. It will provide some details, device ID and some other details. The primary connection string is the one that we want to connect our Raspberry Pi device with Azure IoT Hub. So the next thing we have to do is we have to create the blob storage. Now we are done with our Azure IoT Hub and we have registered a device there. So next let's move into create blob storage. Let's go to home and click on create a resource and search for storage account. Let's go into this storage account and click on this create button. Here we have to provide a name for our storage account. All the characters should be in lowercase and keep these as default, and in redundancy we have to choose locally redundant because it is lowest cost. Then click on this review button. Then we have to create our storage account. Okay, now we can create. Click on this create button. It is initializing deployment, submitting deployment, and deployment in progress. It will take several minutes to create the storage account. Okay, the deployment is completed. Let's go to home and check our storage account. This is our storage account, DHT sensor data storage account. To store our sensor data, we have to create a container in the storage account. So let's go into the storage account. Click on these containers. We can create a container by clicking on this container button. We have to provide a name for the container. And keep this as default, private, and click on this create button. Okay, this is our sensor data container. Now we are done with creating a blob storage. So the next thing we have to do is we have to create stream analytics. For that, let's go to our home, click on create a resource, search for stream analytics. Here, this is the one that we need, stream analytics job. Click on this create button. Here we have to give a name for our stream analytics job. And we have to set our streaming units to 1 and click on this review plus create. It is creating our new stream analytics job. Okay, let's click this create button. It is initializing deployment, submitting deployment, and deployment is in progress. Okay, now the deployment is succeeded. Let's go to home and check our stream analytics. This is Raspberry DHT stream. So the next thing we have to do is let's check our diagram. Stream analytics has inputs and outputs. A According to this diagram, the input is Azure IoT Hub and output can be blob storage, Power BI, Azure Function, SQL database, Cosmos DB, or Event Grid. In our case, input is Azure IoT Hub and output is the blob storage. So we have to define these inputs and outputs in our stream analytics. So let's go here. We have to go to our stream analytics. This is the overview of our stream analytic. Here there is inputs. So let's go to inputs. Here we can add a input. So let's add a input. Our input is a IoT hub. So let's click on this. We have to provide input alias, a name for our input. And this is our input. Our input is IoT hub. So the IoT hub we created for the tutorial is this one. So we can select this one. Then event serialization format is JSON. So keep other details as it is and click on save button. It's adding input and testing input. So now we have added our input. Let's go to output. Here we can add a output. Here the output can be one of these things. So output can be one of these things. In our case, output is blob storage. So let's select blob storage. We have to provide output alias. And our storage account, the output is our storage account, and this is the container, sensor data container. These are the storage account and the container that we created previously. So they have selected by default, and event serialization format is JSON, and we have to add path pattern, date, and we have to select the date format, and we have to click on save. Okay, now our output is creating. Okay, our output is this storage account. So let's go to our diagram. Now we have created our IoT hub, stream analytics, and blob storage. Now we are done with this part. The next thing we have to do is we have to set up our circuit. We have to connect our DHT11 sensor with the Raspberry Pi device. Now let's move into that task. Okay, this is our Raspberry Pi device and this is our DHT11 temperature and humidity sensor. It has three pins. The first one is VCC, the second one, middle one is data output pin, and the third one is ground pin. The VCC is represent using plus icon and the ground represent using the minus icon, and data output pin is mentioned as out. So in the Raspberry Pi device there are two lines of pins. So we have to connect VCC to the first pin of the outer line and the ground, the green wire, to the third pin of the outer line, and the data output pin we have to connect it to the fourth pin of the inner line of the pins. It is GPIO pin. So this is our Raspberry Pi device. We can connect a mouse and a keyboard to our Raspberry Pi device. We have to provide power to our Raspberry Pi device 5 volt and 2.4 amperes. So through this HDMI cable we can connect our Raspberry Pi device to a monitor. When we connect our Raspberry Pi device to the monitor, the operating system of the Raspberry Pi device will be boosted. Okay, this is our Raspberry Pi device. This is the display of our Raspberry Pi device. Okay, now we are on the screen of our Raspberry Pi device. We can work with our Raspberry Pi device using a separate mouse and a keyboard as I shown you before. But it is easy if we can control our Raspberry Pi device through our laptop. For that, we have to use VNC Weaver and VNC Server. We have to configure VNC Server in our Raspberry Pi device and we have to install VNC Weaver to our laptop. So, first configure VNC Server in our Raspberry Pi device. For that, we have to go to the terminal. This is the terminal. And here we have to type sudo raspi-config and press enter. Here we have to go to interface options and press enter. Then VNC, press enter. It asks, would you like the VNC server to be enabled? Yes, press enter. The VNC server is enabled. Okay, press enter. Then we have to finish this, so press double tap, tap, tap and press enter. Okay, now we have configured VNC server in our Raspberry Pi device. Then we have to install VNC Weaver in our laptop. To connect with VNC Weaver, we need the IP address of our Raspberry Pi device. So we have to get our IP address. For that, we have to run this command ifconfig and press enter. It will give you the IP address of your Raspberry Pi device. This is the IP address of my Raspberry Pi device. To connect your Raspberry Pi device to a laptop, the Raspberry Pi device and the laptop should be connected to the same network. So then let's go to our laptop and install VNC Weaver. Okay, now we are in our laptop. Here we have to install VNC Weaver to connect with our Raspberry Pi device. So let's search for VNC Weaver and go to the first link that we get. We can download VNC Weaver from here. We have to select the operating system of our laptop and download VNC Weaver. Okay, this is our VNC Weaver. We have to install it. Here we have to select the language. Installing VNC Weaver is a small process. I have installed VNC Weaver already, so for now I'll cancel this and let's go to my VNC Weaver. This is the VNC Weaver. Here we have to type the IP address of our Raspberry Pi device. My IP address of Raspberry Pi device is this. I have to type it and press enter. Here we found this IP address of our Raspberry Pi device by running ifconfig command in our Raspberry Pi device. Let's press enter. Now we are connecting to our Raspberry Pi device. Here we have to provide the username and the password of our Raspberry Pi device. If you haven't changed your username and the password, the default username and the password of Raspberry Pi device is username is Pi and password is Raspberry. Here I have changed my username and password. So in my case, username is IT and I have to provide my password. If you don't know the username and the password of your Raspberry Pi device, you cannot connect through VNC Viewer. So I'll tell how to find your username and password later. For now, let's press OK. Okay, this is my Raspberry Pi device. I have connected to my Raspberry Pi device through my laptop using VNC Viewer. Okay, now we can work with our Raspberry Pi device through our laptop. This is like a simple computer. Here, this is terminal and file manager. This is web browser, and here there is programming editors, web browser, sound and video, VLC media player and vocal screen, graphics, accessories, and here preferences. Here we can see some configurations of Raspberry Pi device. So first let's see how to find the username and the password of our Raspberry Pi device. Let's open our terminal. Here you can see this. So our username is the characters before the @ sign. In my case it is IT. My username is IT. Then let's see how to find our password. We have to click on this icon, go to preferences and go to Raspberry Pi configuration. Here we can see password and we can change our password. For changing password, we have to know the current password. But in here, it does not require the current password. So we can enter new password and change our password. So let's cancel this for now. So we can find our username and we can change our password. We can do it through our monitor, and when connecting with your laptop, we can provide this username and our new password. Okay, then let's move into our task. The first thing that we have to do is we have to install DHT library for Raspberry Pi device to work with our temperature and humidity sensor. For that, first we have to download DHT library. So let's go to our web browser. And we have to type the link to download DHT library. I have copied it, so I'll paste it. I have included this link in the description of the video, so you can copy it and paste here. Then press enter. Okay, it is downloaded. Let's go here. Okay, this is our DHT library for Raspberry Pi device. To work with our temperature and humidity sensor, we have to install it. To install it, first we have to extract it. So we can extract it using this extract to or extract here. I have already extracted this folder, so let's go there. This is my DHT library for Raspberry Pi device. To install this, let's right click and open in terminal. Then we have to run the command sudo python setup.py install. Sudo python setup.py install and press enter. It is running now. Okay, now we have installed DHT library for Raspberry Pi device. The next thing you have to do is you have to install all the dependent packages on Azure IoT Hub. So let's close all these. To install these packages, we have to run several commands. So let's open terminal. First, we have to install Azure IoT device. To install that, let's run this command sudo pip3 install Azure IoT device. Azure-IoT-device and press enter. Okay, it is installing now. I have already installed these packages. The next package we have to install is Azure IoT Hub. So let's run this command sudo pip3 install Azure IoT Hub. Azure-IoT Azure-IoT-Hub. Let's press enter. Okay, now all the packages have installed. The next task we have to do is we have to program our Raspberry Pi to send sensor data to our Azure IoT Hub. Then let's move into that task. We are using Python to write our program. So let's first close this and we have to create a Python file. Let's click on new file and provide the file name. The extension of the file is Py since we are using Python and press OK. We can open this file to write our code through this code editors. Here I am using Genie Programmer's Editor because it is a fast and lightweight IDE. Okay, now we have opened our Python file and then we have to write our code. First we have to import some libraries. Import random, import Adafruit library for DHT sensor. After writing the code, we have to save the file. We have to go to File and Save. For now, let's paste the code, save the file, and let's try to understand the code. First, we have to import all the libraries that we want. Here, the pin, we have to declare the pin. In this project, we are using pin 4 of the Raspberry Pi to process the data from DHT11. So it needs to be declared as shown. Then the next one, connection string. This is the one that we get when we are registering a device to our Azure IoT Hub. So we have to paste it here. Let's go to our Microsoft Azure account and let's go to our IoT Hub. This is our IoT Hub. We have to go to devices. This is our device. Let's go in it. And we have to get this primary connection string and place it in the code. So let's copy this and let's go to our Raspberry Pi and we have to paste it here. Okay. In the connection string, there are three parts: hostname, device ID, and shared access key. Hostname is the name of our IoT hub, and device ID is the ID that we gave when registering a device, and shared access key is for the authentication of our device. Next line is line number 8. In line number 8, we have created an array that will be used to send the data to Azure IoT Hub. And in the next while loop, both humidity and temperature data are processed using this Adafruit DHT read retry function. And next there is a function. This function is written to connect the IoT hub using the connection parameters that we have previously defined. Finally, there is another function. This function is written to send temperature and humidity data to Azure IoT Hub using the format written here. So, here we are sending this data for every 3 seconds. Okay, let's save the file. I think now you can understand our code. So now we have to send sensor data to Azure IoT Hub. For that we have to run this program. Let's close this file and let's run this program. Open the terminal. To run this program we have to run this Python 3 and our file name. My file name is raspberryprogram.py and press OK. Okay, now we are getting real-time temperature and humidity data from our sensor to our Raspberry Pi device. Now we have to check our Microsoft Azure account whether we are getting this data. So let's go into our Microsoft Azure account and we can check this in our stream analytics. So let's go to our stream analytics. This is our stream analytics. I think you can remember we have created a input and output already. Let's go to inputs. This is our input, Raspberry IoT input. And outputs. This is our output, Raspberry IoT output. So we have to go to this query and we can type the query here. Here we are selecting our data from our input. So we have to give our input name here. My input name is Raspberry IoT input. And we are getting data into our output. So we have to type our output name here. My output is Raspberry IoT output. Okay, this is my input IoT hub and this is my output blob storage. So let's save this query and test. Okay, now we are getting real time temperature and humidity data from our sensor to our Azure IoT Hub. Okay, here we store this data in our blob storage. So we can check that. First, we have to go to overview of our stream analytics and we have to start this. So let's click on the start button. It is starting stream analytics job. This will take several minutes to start. So let's wait several minutes. Okay, let's go to our home and let's check our storage account. This is our storage account that we have created for our tutorial. Let's go into it. Let's go to containers. This is our container we created previously, sensor data container. Okay, there is a folder. Let's go into it. And there is another folder named 6. This is the month. This is June, so 6 month. And here there is a folder named 5. This is the date of today. Today is 5th of June. And here there is data. This is real-time data that we get from our sensor. Let's go into this and let's download this file. Okay, let's open this. These are the real-time data that we get from our sensor to our Azure IoT Hub. So now we are done with our task. We have connected our sensor to Azure IoT Hub and stored our data in blob storage. So I think you will find this helpful and thanks for watching.